Hello, everyone. My name is Austin, and I'm here to give you guys a quick overview of what an adventure activity is. I've had a lot of people asking me that recently as I've been using this term on different social media. So I thought the easiest way to answer that question would just be to put together a mind map on this video so that everybody can see what I'm talking about when I say adventure activity. And at the end of the video, I'm going to put a link right here on the screen with an example and a walkthrough of an adventure activity that we put together for you guys to try out. So my name's Austin again, and I've been an adventure educator, an outdoor educator for more than 10 years. And for the entire time, as I've worked outdoors and I've worked indoors and I've worked with other teachers, I've seen this gap in engagement between the students that are doing the activities outdoors in these in very physical, hands-on environments, and the students doing activities indoors. And as I had conversations with teachers, we always wondered, the question always came up was, how can we give students the experience of the outdoor adventure style education in the classroom without leaving campus? And I've worked with my friend Jesse on this, who you will meet in the next video, where he goes into more detail on the example of the adventure activity. I've worked with him, and we put together some really interesting ideas that I think are going to be helpful for a lot of people as they try to transform their classroom culture into something that's healthier and happier and more fun and supportive, both for the students and for the teacher. Okay, so to answer the question, what is an adventure activity? I'm going to switch my screen so that you can see my screen, and I'm going to put together a quick mind map for you. And everyone should be familiar with the concept of a mind map, as they're very popular in education these days. Just pop it up here on my screen. Okay. I hope you can see this. I'll just delete that. So to start off, we have adventure activities in the middle. I'm just going to write adventure act to save space here. Now there are four main areas of the adventure activity. We have challenge, we have teamwork, and we have guided reflection. Now, I said three, and then I changed that to four, because in outdoor education, if you go to a high ropes course or a challenge course, you're going to have these three elements. There's challenge. That means the participants are in a novel situation, having to do something that they haven't been asked to do before. There's teamwork, so you're always working in a team in one way or another. And there's always guided reflection, meaning at points during the activity and or at the end of the activity, the guide or the teacher facilitates a small activity where the participants are asked to reflect on their experience and think about how they performed and how, as an individual, and how they performed as a team. And that's a really important element of it. I'll get into that in more detail in just a minute. The fourth element, though, and this is really the exciting aspect that Jesse and myself have put together, it's the academics. I'll just write academ. You all know what I mean with that. So now we have four. With adventure activities in schools, we have challenge, teamwork, guided reflection, and academics. Now, when we have challenging and novel experiences for our students in the classroom, that builds resiliency, which I shouldn't have to talk too much about the benefits of resiliency, because it's something that is obviously a valuable trait for everybody, but it's also something that is rarely focused on in schools. There's if a teacher has a particular moment, they might be able to work with a student in resiliency or in extracurricular activities like sports. Students might have more of an opportunity to actively grow in resiliency, but typically, especially in the classroom, it's not something that we can approach. That's one of the really interesting elements of adventure activities in the classroom, is that we get to bring in resiliency and challenge into the student's experience within the classroom. Teamwork is another one. And the key connection with teamwork, it would be the 4 C's. If you're familiar with the 4 C's, then it probably means you're already working on them in your school. They're already involved. If you're unfamiliar, the 4 C's come from the 21st century learning goals. And that's a whole framework for learning that was put together by a panel of experts that basically says that these are the things that are most important for humans to work towards, to be healthy, happy, successful contributors of the world. And these are the things that we should do in their education. So the 4 C's element of that consist of communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. I'll spare you all watching me write that on the screen with my little finger. Again, that's communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking are the 4 C's. And all of those are involved when we have activities that involve teamwork. Now, you might be thinking as a teacher, because as a teacher, you've been a student in the past, at some point in the past, and you've been asked to work in teams. And there are people out there, and I'm not one of them personally. I love working in teams, but there are people out there who don't like working in teams for understandable reasons. Have you ever been in a team where not everyone pulls their own weight? That's really frustrating, right? Or have you ever been in a team where the objective was unclear or it seemed impossible, and so you really struggled? I think we've all been there as well. So teamwork can put us into these situations where we can have challenge, right? So there's a connection there between teamwork and challenge. And we have an opportunity to grow in these soft skills that, like communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking, that are so important in the growth of young people these days as they go through their education and prepare to enter in the rest of the world. If a person doesn't have some capability in the 4 C's, then they won't be able to reach their full potential, both as that they want for themselves or that society wants for them. So the 4 C's are very important, and we get that through teamwork and challenge in our adventure activities. Next, we have the guided reflection. And this is my favorite part of the adventure activities because it's so vital. Guided reflection is a time, it's also known as a debrief. And this is a time where the teacher or the facilitator or the guide has a specific activity that's encapsulated. It's a self-contained activity separate from what they were working on before, where the people who just did the activity, the participants, are asked to reflect on what they just did. The guide or the teacher will maybe pose some questions, and this will depend a lot on the ability level of the group, but they'll pose some questions, or maybe they'll have a ball with different questions on it, and you can bounce it around. There are all kinds of fun ways to do guided reflection, but the whole idea is that you're making people think about the experience that they just had in a little bit deeper way. And in that way, the takeaways that they get from the experience will be more profound and more permanent. It'll go beyond just being a fun activity and actually become something that transformed them in some way, that influenced in them some way. So the guided reflection is a vital part of any adventure activity. And next, we have academics. And this is where it all fits into the school picture, right? Academics. And this is the thing that Jesse and I and the other teachers that we've worked with on this project have really thought hard about. How can we make adventure activities appropriate in the school setting. Because the last thing we want is to take time away from all of the requirements that teachers have in preparing their students to do well in standardized testing. Now, however you feel about that, we all have to agree that doing well in standardized testing is the primary goal of most schools, right? So it would behoove us, as my second grade teacher taught us that word, and we loved it. It would behoove us to think about how adventure activities can complement our academics, and they can do it absolutely. Any adventure activity can be adapted to support the subject area that the teacher wants to reinforce. You can do it with math, you can do it with English, you can do it with science, especially science. If you any kind of lab work can be turned into an adventure activity. But that's a really important thing to realize, that adventure activities aren't a break from academics, but rather a complement for academics. And we were doing a lot of research on the benefits of things that come from adventure education, and one of them is student engagement. And there's been a lot of research on how student engagement supports and benefits the academic success of students. And so it's really true that a student who is highly engaged will do better on standardized testing, will do better generally throughout their education. So it's in your students' best interest to give them adventure activity experiences. So we have these 4 elements that's very important. Now, something that I didn't realize would come out of this, but it has, is an emergent property. Emergent property. It's something that wasn't the goal of the adventure activities, but once we started to do these in schools and see the results with the students, we realized that this was happening. So there are 4 main areas, 4 main properties or benefits that I have identified as a result of the adventure activities with students. One is empowerment. Oops, what happened? Let's see, let's pop that back up there. So empowerment is a result of the adventure activities because students who have experienced challenges and have resiliency and who are strong in the 4 C's and teamwork feel empowered. They feel enabled to do things that they wouldn't normally feel enabled to do. They might see something that would be a stretch for them ability-wise, but they know they have overcome challenges before, so they can do it again. Empowerment. Next is empathy. Empathy is such an underrated trait, human trait, and most people take it for granted. Either you are somebody who has empathy or you're somebody who doesn't have empathy. Academically, we don't really have a way to effectively help people to grow in this trait. But with adventure activities, we found that our students had more empathy as a result of their experiences through the challenging activities, through the teamwork and the 4 C's, and through guided reflection. Empathy became something that they had more of, and that in turn made behavioral problems go down in the classroom, made students had a stronger sense of community. They had stronger friendships as a result. So empathy was an amazing, unexpected, but very present benefit of students going through that program. Next, inspiration. And this one is connected to empowerment. Inspiration in this context, I'm talking about students not only thinking about their day-to-day needs. When you think about Maslow's hierarchy, which is also part of this whole picture here, I'll just write Maslow over here. Maslow's hierarchy, when all of your basic needs are met, your safety, your need for safety and shelter, your psychological needs are met, when your need for love and belonging is met, which comes in community, then you have higher self-esteem and you start to reach the level of self-actualization. And that's when you start to see yourself in the bigger picture of things. You have that's what I mean by inspiration. You see the big picture. Where are you going in your life? Where is your family? Where are your friends going in life? How can you fit into that picture and support them as they support you? It sounds very kind of holistic, groovy, tie-dyed kind of language, but this is an outcome that we have seen in students who have had a lot of adventure activities in their education. They have more inspiration in how they view themselves and their place in the world. And finally, vision. Vision is a really, really interesting emergent property here. What I'm talking about when I say vision is not that they have really good eyesight and they can get rid of their glasses. Vision in this sense means that students who have experienced a lot of adventure activities in their education notice problems before they become big problems. Right? They're more observant of what's going on around them because they're less focused on themselves. They're more looking out in their community, in their class, and they're thinking about what's going on around them. They have that vision. That's something that comes from working in a team and when you're working in a team, it's important to observe your team members and the challenge or the problem that you're working on. So you start to practice being more aware of what's going on around you. That vision is something that leads into the final thing. And this is me thinking about the big picture here. And what's really inspiring for me about this, I'm going to change colors here. What's really inspiring for me about this is that these emergent properties lead to they're all what I call heroic traits. These heroic traits are things that lead to somebody becoming an everyday hero, the type of person who might be walking down the street and they might see somebody who needs help and feel empowered to help them because they have empathy for the problem, the challenge, or the pain that person is going through. They might have inspiration for how to solve the problem quickly. And they had the vision to notice it in the first place. That's the type of everyday hero that we can create through adventure activities in our classes by including adventure activities in our school year and in our education system. We can develop these heroes for our communities, these heroes that we really need so badly, locally and nationally and globally. We can have an education system that finally fulfills its ultimate purpose of bringing self-actualized people to the world. This is the great vision for adventure education, adventure activities that I see ultimately. Now, we're not there today, but if we work as teachers, each one of us, to do these little activities and think about the big picture in our work every day, then we can work towards that future of as schools as hero creators rather than standardized test taker robots. Isn't that inspiring? Isn't that amazing to think my school could be responsible for creating the next generation of heroes in my community and in my country and in the world? And that will make a real difference. And that's why we all became teachers in the first place, was to make a difference in the world for the next generation. So for everybody listening to this, thank you for listening. I'm going to wrap it up here and give you all the link so that you can go and see a practical example of an adventure activity that Jesse has developed. And it's on our website. I'm just going to write it down here at the corner of the screen. If you go to tsfires.com/go. Okay, tsfires.com/go, and you'll have a chance. You'll need to enter in your name and email address there, and it'll take you right to the video of the activity. I'll jump back to the video here. Now you can see me again. So go to tsfires.com/go, and you'll see that video. It's a really great walkthrough that Jesse has put together for this adventure activity. He talks about how to do the activity and how to use it in your classroom and how it's benefited him and his work as a classroom teacher. So thank you again for listening. This is Austin with Teachers Starting Fires, and I hope you have a great day.